All right, we are live.
Sweet.
Let's do the countdown.
All right.
3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, welcome to Nintendo Nostalgia, episode 126. I'm your host, Jacob Rush, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ryan Black, and we are back, and we are playing with Power Baby. Ryan, how are you doing this week?
I am doing wonderfully. I am not driving right now, which is unusual because that's what I've been doing all weekend, driving everywhere. So I'm good to be a little grounded right now.
Good. You need a break here and there, man.
It's okay. At the end of the week, I'm back in New York, so.
Okay. That's a drive. Man, you know, you're looking kind of like you've been hitting the weights or something. You look like you just like, I don't know, like you're a part of a biker gang club or something. You look pretty tough right now with your shaved head, your beard. You're looking pretty stocky right now, man.
I worked out one day, dude. One day isn't enough to show anything. You're flattering me.
One day. That's all it took for you. Huh? One day. Wow. Man, how you doing? What's up?
You know, I'm alive and I'm happy. I've not been getting a lot of time in for gaming, but I hope to do that, you know, sometime this week before I have to drive again. Hopefully.
Oh, yes. I tell you what, I have not been able to game, and it's really hard when you're trying to play a game like Cuphead too, because it's like you have to constantly play to get better to beat that kind of a game, and I have not had the time. My week up, and it's just been insane. So hopefully maybe this coming weekend I can find some time to get away and play some games again. But that leads me to, you know, our next segment. So why don't we go ahead to do what we love to do every single week, Ryan, and Radical Rex. So, dude, everybody, here's what we have been Radical Rexing about. Ryan, why don't you go ahead first, man? Go ahead and tell us what is exciting for you as of late.
You know, we actually got to record with the Backlog Busters at the end of last week, and got to hang out with Trash Turkey and Grouchy Surge, and that was a lot of fun. And we got to sorry, we're having some technical difficulties, guys.
Weird.
Seems like in the middle of us recording, Jacob blacked out for a second, and when he came back,
can you hear me?
He couldn't hear.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, man. Call me up. He's gonna have to join in again. Sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know if anybody's watching. Let me check the chat while we have this break. Okay, no one said anything yet.
I don't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I don't hear you.
Call me.
Why is this doing this? Especially while we're live. Sorry, everybody, for the technical problems. We'll get this fixed. Oh, man.
Take him a second to get on his phone so we can record that way. Last week we had a workaround where he had to get on his phone and fix all that, so we'll definitely cut this audio out of the podcast.
1 second, everybody.
All right. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Backlog Busters.
All right. 1 second here.
That.
Switch headphones. Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
No. I got it. I gotta mute the phone.
Yeah.
There we go. Great.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yay! Woohoo!
Sorry, everybody, about that. But we're gonna get back to it. We are Radical Rexing. So what were you saying? What are you Radical Rexing about?
Oh, just talking about hanging out with Grouchy Surge and Trash Turkey on their show, Backlog Busters. That was a lot of fun.
Yes, we did.
We Jack and Daxter, I think is what it was.
Jack and Daxter. Yeah, I don't know what
Instead
they
of
were
Radical
thinking.
Rexing. I don't know. Whatever. It was fun. They had us do some quiz stuff, and we failed terribly. They had to help us out a lot to get through that quiz. Hopefully, our game show that's coming up isn't going to be that bad. Hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've also been diving into Breath of the Wild 3D. And what I mean by 3D is I'm basically looking at Breath of the Wild on a 3DS, playing VR. But you know what? Getting absorbed into that world, into that 3D space is pretty awesome. Just getting lost and immersed in that world, in a space where there's nothing else around me. I'm just completely absorbed in the world. Yes, it's blurry, it's fuzzy in places, it's muddy, but it's so just amazing to be there. Like, have the way the sound on the Switch sits, and with the VR headset, it feeds directly to your ears, so it almost feels like the sound is inside what you're looking in, and so that kind of gets you immersed as well. And I really like that. I mean, you can put on some headphones and still get that immersion, but even the speakers by themselves without the headphones, they work great. So I've definitely been enjoying that. I have yet to play the VR experience with Mario Odyssey, but I hope to do that soon. I just got to break away from Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're experiencing that, enjoying it. Yeah, this will be challenging with these headphones are out. It is I think it's a delay in my voice when I hear myself talk. So that kind of sucks. But whatever, we'll roll with it. Anything else?
Oh man, I think that's it.
Okay. Well, for me, I'm going to Radical Rex right now about gosh, I went and saw a movie called Avengers Endgame. We're not going to spoil anything on this show, but Ryan, I have to comment on it. It, how do I say it? Was an emotional roller coaster. I don't know. A brief history about when I did the game, or when I used to watch the Marvel stuff. I was really into it back in the day when I was in middle school and high school. I thought it was cool, and really getting into the comic stuff and following all the superhero movies back then. And then, to be honest, I've seen them all. But as time has gone on, once they started to really just become really mainstream and popular with like everyone and their grandma, I kind of just stopped caring as much. I still liked it, but I wouldn't have considered myself like a massive nerd for it all. But when I saw Endgame, I laughed a lot, and I cried throughout the show, and I openly wept during the movie. It is very emotional and is very good, and it kind of just brought back a part of me that I haven't really felt towards those movies in a long time, but how I used to originally feel about them, it made it really special, so it's a great movie. It's the best movie I've ever seen. And I haven't been this emotional about a movie since I saw Jurassic World, which I loved. And I got emotional on that one too, and it was really good. And man, I can't stop thinking about it, and I'm excited to see where Marvel goes next and what they do, and I'm excited because I know it's not going to be for a while, but us growing up, Spider-Man was huge, but X-Men was always huge, and the Fantastic Four were always huge, and Wolverine is my all-time favorite superhero, and it's like I cannot wait to see what they can do with Wolverine and the X-Men. It's going to be really hard for me to see someone else helm Wolverine besides Hugh Jackman, but still, it's I'm excited for when they get me all included and what they do with them in the future. So I'm in radical reaction about that. Another side thing, I got Metroid Prime Hunters on the DS. Believe it or not, I never actually owned it. I only had the demo that came with our original DSs, and I know why, because I was not a fan of having to touch the screen to conduct everything. It's been a little challenging, right? I know the thumb thing makes it easier. If you still
have your thumb thing, it works a lot better.
They designed it all around that, which is crazy to think about. But I started and messed around a little bit. Just I think it was yesterday. I did a little bit, and
You know,
I want to
I think
try
it's
to play through it a little bit, see if it sticks with me. But it's I enjoyed it. I'm enjoying what I've done so far. I do remember getting that original demo, and man, that was super awesome. That experience, and I'm still, when I was watching the cutscenes and stuff, I'm still like, dude, that's impressive that they had the 3D graphics that they had for those cutscenes on a DS.
they also had Rumble feature if you had the Rumble pack too, so like you could actually feel that. It was definitely ahead of its time in that aspect. It was beautiful.
It was really cool and really impressive.
It definitely pushed the DS graphically, and I think you'll find that it's got a lot of repetitiveness, like what you said with Starlink, that bothered you. So you may be a little bothered. Maybe probably your least favorite Metroid game. The real place where it shines the most is probably when you're playing the multiplayer. If we could ever get a few copies together, maybe we could play multiplayer sometime. That'd be pretty fun.
Totally, dude.
I miss playing online.
That'd be really fun. I'm hoping in the next Metroid Prime game that they do include some sort of multiplayer. Yes, that would be really cool. I got that, and then I also bought this new Donkey Kong plushie. I didn't have this one. I saw him. I snagged him up for $20. So
not bad.
Yeah, that's really what I've been Radical Rexing about, dude.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Go see Avengers.
Now, let me just say, there's a trailer that released today. It's Nintendo.
We got to talk about it.
We have to talk about it. So, Sonic the Hedgehog debuted today. That their trailer, their hype trailer, and the internet exploded. Apparently, they can't handle Sonic with teeth like that. I never saw anything like joking about Dr. Robotnik. No, it was all about Sonic and how horrifying he looked.
Right. Now, I did see some Dr. Robotnik jokes.
I didn't see like anything like horribly wrong with Sonic other than like the awkward smile, but like I was like, okay, I can kind of get it. They could have done a little better with that, but I think I was actually most disappointed with Dr. Robotnik.
Really?
I felt like they needed to do the mustache thing, man. And I don't care if he's not bald, like, okay, but like the mustache is so like iconic, and I'm like, maybe at the end of this movie something's gonna happen and he's gonna like take on that signature look. But man, I was disappointed that Jim Carrey didn't go all out for that look.
I didn't have an issue with the mustache. I did see people like dogging on Dr. Eggman, and they kept comparing him to Bowser back in the original Mario Bros. What he looked like. I don't know the actor's name, but I'm like, that's stupid, because I think Jim Carrey looks a lot better as an Eggman than that dude did at Bowser. Like, I'm not against that. I'm excited. Like, Jim Carrey hasn't really been in anything really in a long time.
Yeah, it's like Ace Ventura when Sonic calls. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm excited for this. I want to see him take on his comedian role again. And if this movie is tongue-in-cheek bad, it's on purpose just to make you laugh, and it's supposed to be cheesy, I think I'll enjoy it. But if it takes itself too seriously, I don't know if I can do it. They didn't show a lot of humor other than Jim Carrey's humor. Right. So you didn't get like a good feel for what the tone of the movie was going to be. They kind of gave it like a little bit of a seriousness, like almost like Sonic was the bad guy and Dr. Robotnik was coming in to stop him. And I don't know. It's interesting how they spun that. I want to see where they go with it. I am still sold on wanting to go see it, even though I think it's a joke movie. Like, it's like me wanting to go to the theater and watch like Evolution or like Mystery Men or Master of Disguise or something like that, and just like see it as something like just super cheesy because it's supposed to be that way. And I think I like that, just like a cheesy 90s movie experience in today's day and age.
They had Gangster Paradise as the song. Like, I don't know why they chose that.
Yeah, that was a bit off-putting, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I have to admit, like, people say I think people are just want to write it off. Like, I think people want it to be bad.
People like to hate on Sonic a lot, especially in the States. Now, in the UK, a lot of people like it, but I think in the States, people like to rag on Sonic a lot.
They do. And I have to admit that I did not watch that trailer and I was not disgusted. If anything, it made me have more interest than I did. And that's coming from a guy who's never been a pure Sega fan, and I've only really played through one Sonic game, Adventure 2 Battle, like hardcore, like. And, I'm curious. I'll probably see it, and it'll be fun. Now, granted, I don't think it holds a candlestick to what Pokemon is showing that they're doing with the real life adaptation there, but I'm excited for it. Yeah, I'm not. When I say I'm excited either, I'm just saying I'm not turned off by it, and I don't think it's as bad as everyone is saying it is. So
yeah, I kind of feel that. I feel that too. I'm going to laugh at it, and I hope that it's intentionally supposed to be laughable. I hope it doesn't take itself too seriously. But then again, it might become a cult classic because it does take itself seriously, even though it's completely a joke.
I mean, they got a good director. The Fast and the Furious directors, they've made a lot of movies. I think they know what they're doing.
Okay.
I mean, I don't like those films either, but I'm just saying. There's a reason they keep making more. They make money.
Yeah, I just hope that, people are talking about how Pokemon is going to be the video game curse breaker. I hope that Sonic doesn't throw the video game curse back into play again.
We have all this Avengers love. Watch Pokemon come out and it stomps the world record.
Nah, no way, man.
I don't think so either.
Mario might, though. When Mario comes out down the road, yeah, that might happen.
Mario could. I could see Pokemon really getting close.
We'll see. Well, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that would like Pokemon over comic book stuff, but there aren't a lot of comic book nerds that would necessarily be into Pokemon, are there?
I mean, you think about the Pokemon Go craze that happened just a few years ago, and how many people came back with the nostalgia feelings of the old Pokemon. Really, that's what they show off in these trailers is older Pokemon for the most part. And I think people are going to want to see their childhood come to life on the big screen like that.
I bet you're happy to see your Bulbasaur.
Yeah, we'll see. So, all right, Ryan. Well, we got a fun topic today. We're not doing just a covering of a game or a character or anything like that. What we're doing today, we are going to talk about, well, it's springtime. And with spring, there's lots of rain. So we wanted to focus on some fun water mechanics that Nintendo's done throughout different games that they've done in the past. So sorry if you can hear my crazy daughter in the background. She is going nuts. Yeah, today's episode is going to be all about spring showers. So April showers brings May flowers. Ryan, well, this was kind of your original idea topic here. So why don't you go ahead and just share, the idea behind this and bring your first water mechanic that you can think of here.
Okay. I've got to get the obvious one out of the way, but basically, Nintendo has a lot of water mechanics in their games, from fishing to, skiing to actually manipulating the water to do things and solve puzzles. So I just wanted to highlight some of those things, make it really all about ushering in May. We're recording this the day before May starts and all the May flowers come around. So yeah, that's kind of my idea behind this, and I just wanted to get into the obvious one. I hope I don't steal this from you, Jacob, but we can talk about it a lot. But yeah, let's talk about Flood. There's an entire game built around the flood mechanic. So in Super Mario Sunshine, the whole idea is Professor Egad, originally seen in Luigi's Mansion, giving the poltergust to Luigi. He makes a water device to help him clean up all this pollution, if you will. This, I guess it's similar to the ink in Splatoon. It's paint, but you use water to actually clean that all up, and kind of figure out what's going on this island and why is there this person that imitates Mario, and it's framing Mario. So it's a very tropical theme. But you use the flood to do various things. Think of Mario 64. Now strap a water backpack to the back, and you can use that to hover jet with the water, as long as you have the water in the reservoir. You can shoot away certain enemies shooting stuff at you. You can clean up any of the paint that's painted anywhere, and you can find things hidden under them, whether they're shine sprites, which are the stars in that game. You can also use it as a jet, like a rocket pack, and you can like shoot yourself up really, really high. That was a lot of fun, especially to get like a triple jump and then let that blast off and see how high you could get.
Right.
It took Mario to new heights, literally. And it was really a cool mechanic to build a game around the water. A lot of people wanted that traditional Mario 64. Like, they didn't want a gimmick strapped to his back. And they gave that to people in the levels where you could, run around without the pack on. But I think really, like, it shined a lot with the Flood.
I didn't mind Flood, really. I know Kyle Martin, our artist for the show, he hated the fact that you didn't have your traditional Mario power-ups and whatnot,
Yeah.
And it didn't really bother me that much. I thought Flood was really unique and cool, and I think it's a shame that they haven't done more with him. Maybe they could revisit Flood one day and you use water mechanics, but then you can fill that pack up with something else instead of it just water, and you can do different unique things like that with it.
Now, this doesn't have to be all about water. So, honorable mention to Yoshi, like spitting out the juice and stuff in Mario Sunshine as well. So, didn't want to exclude that.
No.
So, Jacob, do you have one for us?
Yes. And you didn't steal mine. Mine that I got to talk about here is, man, I love. Let's see here. I got to pull it up. You guys know I love Banjo-Kazooie. And I think of the one level that is my favorite level in the whole game, and probably my favorite track as well, and that's from Click Clock Woods. And in Click Clock Wood, what you do is there's 4 seasons, and you have to do different things in different times of the seasons to get different jiggies at a different point in the season. So it's like you're manipulating with time throughout a year. But there's a specific one I wanted to bring up. There's lots of things that you do in this level for that with that same thing. But it's jiggy number 8 that you end up getting. And it's during the springtime, which obviously we're in spring. So, of course, I think of this level. Every spring, this song I just blare, and I think about this level in particular. I think about the spring and more than any other time, I think. Probably because it's just so good. The spring version is the best. But during the spring, you head to the garden, and the level itself, it changes. So like in the spring, things are smaller. Platforms don't exist yet. And that's because everything is just starting to grow. It's starting to come to life. And then when you get to the summer, things have definitely settled in and taken place. Not everything is there, but like platforms are not 100% there, but they're a lot more. Like leaves have grown. They're like in the spring, they're little nubs, but because the water and with the heat and natural stuff changes, when you go into the summer realm, the leaves have grown and you can get around things a lot better, and you're climbing this giant tree, the whole time. So there's water mechanics, with just things that happen in nature right there. But there's a specific jiggy that I wanted to talk about, and that jiggy is jiggy number 8. And during the spring, you head to the garden and you have to drop 5 eggs in the hole in the center, kind of like you're planting seeds. A giant plant will sprout, but then there's nothing you can do at that moment. So then later on, when you unlock a different season, you come back in the summer, and Nintendo, or Rare specifically, did a fantastic job with this. They knew what they're doing, because if you go back to about 3 or 4 worlds before this, there is a desert, and in the desert there is a camel, Gobi, and he is sitting. As soon as you enter, he's sitting right there, and you end up having to like hit him, and he drinks a ton of water. Gulp, 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 gulp. And then he eventually like runs off. After that, he runs off. You use him. You actually steal his water there. Like you ground pound him, and he like feeds like this tree. You get a jiggy or something out of it, and then he gets more water, and then he leaves. He's like, I'm out of here. Well, he ends up showing up here at Click Clock Wood right here, and you have to. He even makes a mention. He knows it's you. He goes, "Oh no, it's you two again." When he sees you, then you just jump right on his back and you ground pound him. Boom. And so he like spits out all this water right into your plant that you have just planted. but this time it's in the summer. And then you come back once you unlock the fall section, because they're not all open right away. You have to unlock them, do tasks to do that. And then you come back in the fall, and then he's still there, like he took a nap, and you hit him again, and he does another round. And as soon as he does that, you have bloomed this flower that you planted in the spring, grew it through the summer, and you finally officially bloomed it in the fall. And then at the top of that flower is your Jiggy. But I this level in general, I always think about in the spring with the rain, because it's always raining in the spring section. So, and not to mention, this even has there's like a little like river lake-ish area in this level. And it rises in the winter or in the summer. No, it rises in the spring, I believe. And then I could be thinking this wrong. And then in the summer, I think sorry, it's been a minute. The fall, the water, I think, disappears, and like you can't get to certain areas, and you can actually run down where the water is, and you can go down in this little tunnel where these beavers live and do stuff there. But in the summer, it's all like raised water. It's that, or it's the opposite. The summer it's lower, in the fall it's higher, because in the winter everything's frozen over. So I think it's lower in the summer, higher in the fall. I think that's what it is. But yeah, you have to use water. But you can't get inside the beaver's home without that water. So you can walk in there, but you can't get up in it.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to come in the summertime and go in there and stuff like that. So, yeah, there's a lot to do. I mean, seriously, I could go on and on. I gush about this level with all the fine details as they're coming back to me. I love this level, but I thought that water mechanic was clever, and it was really cool. But this level's full of clever, unique things like that.
So I feel like this episode's going to be full of water puns,
Yeah.
So let me dip my toe into the next one. So we have a lot of appreciation for Metroid. You were just talking about picking up Metroid Prime Hunters, and I want to talk about the water mechanics in Metroid games.
Oh,
in Super Metroid, you jump in water and it slow you down so slow. Like trying to trudge through water in that metal suit just took forever. And they gave you the option to get a power up later on that turned your suit into a gravity suit and let you move freely in water. And it's kind of interesting that they had that, like, when you move underwater, you do move a lot slower, but you could overcome that with a special suit. But fast forward a fair few years, and you come to Metroid Prime, and the water mechanic is still there. You hop in the water in your first-person view, and everything is kind of muddy and murky. You can't see as well. And you're definitely moving really, really slowly. You can't jump high at all. Like, you can't get anywhere underwater. And then later, when you come across the gravity suit, you suddenly can see like excellently underwater, and you could just jump like it was nothing. And it's a really cool mechanic to pull that into the games. And I've always loved that about the Metroid in the water feeling. The enemies are always pretty fun underwater. They even had a water mechanic where you could use. This is kind of a spoiler for one of the bosses in Super Metroid. Where you can use the grappling hook underwater, and the electricity conducts through you and attacks the boss too. And that's a really cool mechanic they threw in there underwater. There's a lot of cool things they do with the water in Metroid, and I just wanted to shout that out and highlight that.
Yeah. I love that. Just you talking about that makes me want Metroid Prime here so bad. Although I disagree with you, I'm not a fan of the enemies of the water in Metroid. I mean, that's part of the reason why I hate water levels. Oh, they're terrifying because there's like giant alien fish chasing you down there. Torvus Bog and Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. That's awful, dude. And that one's a little different, though. You don't get the Varia suit. You get that like a jetpack kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you kind of do like
it's the same concept, but
it makes you kind of float underwater.
Yeah.
In a way.
But you have to go down that chamber and like get locked in there and fight this underwater alien whale. It's terrible and terrifying. It's like Nintendo knew exactly how to mess with me. Yeah. I think we would be doing Not justice if we talked about an obvious water mechanic. It's well known for this, but Zelda water temples.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, they're flooded with them.
yeah, yeah,
A lot of people like to talk about Ocarina of Time, but I want to focus on Majora's Mask because Majora's
yeah.
Mask is, I think, the more clever one, and it's way more difficult. Now they fixed it in the 3DS version, I think, but dude, this one is all about switches, changing the current, and you got to get caught up into it to go down certain rooms. It's really difficult.
Yeah, swimming against that current is next to impossible.
Oh my gosh.
But also, like, you also had an aid in this water
Yes.
temple and everything because of a an upgrade, if you will.
Mhm.
So, you want to cover that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you get to be Azora.
That is so cool. The coolest thing ever. Like, seriously, that's my favorite. Like, of the masks that you can put on in that game. Oh,
It's
Zora's
the
so cool.
cool. It's the coolest for the water. He looks the coolest.
Yes, and
Um,
guitar, like the bone guitar, that's so
mhm,
cool.
it is. Except for he never has distortion. He's always like a clean sound.
Yeah,
It'd have been cooler if I could add some like sweet distortion to that guitar and really write some fun tunes with it. But um, yeah, it's cool that you could be Azora in the game and just really go at a fast speed. You know what I mean? Like you go really fast, and that would be really fun to do. To the equivalent of what it's like being a Goron in the tournament open field. That was always fun to really roll around and really fast speeds. The Zora, you could do the same thing underwater. So doing it in this temple, it could be tough because of the currents. Because you could be going so fast and screw yourself up. But yeah, I being a Zora really helps out a lot, and you essentially need that mask to do this temple.
yes, I like that temple a lot, mainly because I got to be a Zora. Let's just be honest there.
Right. Well, don't forget that you could even we have the ice arrow at this point. I think you get the ice arrow in this temple, if I'm not
Uh,
mistaken.
yeah, because you used it against the frog guy, right?
Yeah, you have to use it to kill him. So you use that mechanic to kill that mini boss, but you get to freeze water to jump across obstacles, and that's just another way of manipulating the water.
Yeah, and that's something that was revisited in Breath of the Wild, and I'm sure
Yes.
there's some others, but yeah, you can use the is it Cryonis? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
You can
think
use
so.
that to raise up the blocks and use that to get around and climb up waterfalls and things like that. So it's kind of the ice air idea, but you could do it anytime and unlimited.
Yep.
That's it's a really cool mechanic to put in the water with you freeze it and make it into pedestals.
Correct. Okay. So, is there any game specific that springtime makes you think of?
Um, pardon me. Let's see. Springtime. Springtime. Hmm. Oddly enough, when I think of springtime, I think of like flowers, and that takes me
Mhm.
like flowery fields. And for some reason, there's several flowery fields in Pokemon Sun and Moon,
Oh
and
yeah.
just that's what kind of takes me to. Especially there's the fields where you can find. Oh, I completely just forgot its name. The third legendary um, of Sun and Moon, the Shadow one, the Eclipse Pokemon.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't play him.
I am totally blanking on his name. Anyway, but it kind of reminds me of like the flowers and the flower Pokemon that you run into. Floette, I think, is one of the ones that it's called. You have your Skiploom and Jumpluff and things like that. And so I think of that, and I think a little less of water and more of the flowers side of things with May coming about.
Okay.
Where does the spring transport you other than Banjo Kazooie?
Well, I mean, mainly it's Banjo Kazooie. To be honest, one reason that is not just because that level, but because when I first got to replay Banjo Kazooie after like basically not having it or owning a 64 for years, the first time I got a 64 back was back in like 2011. And I ended up getting Banjo-Kazooie from a friend. So I was really feeling the nostalgia for it then, and it was way before I even thought about doing a podcast like this. And I hadn't played Banjo-Kazooie probably since Banjo-Tooie back in 2000. So I mean, it had been 11 years. And when I finally got a 64 again, and I got Banjo-Kazooie, that was the first game I had sought after to get for it. I did it all in March leading up through April into May, and it was all, I just remember playing it during the springtime, rainy days and stuff like that. So that's definitely why I go back to that game, on top of my other reason of the original level experience. But man, in the spring, I honestly, I go to a lot of I go to Star Fox 64 comes to my mind a lot. It has nothing to do with spring itself. It has something to do with, like, that's the first time I only ever really experienced it back at, because Traven's birthday is in April, and I just remember being a kid and going to Traven's and him having Star Fox 64, and like all of the friends he had there and his cousins or whatever were there, and we all were playing like 4-player Star Fox 64. We were watching Traven go through 1-player mode, especially against that monkey on the train and stuff like that. That level, like, I just remember going through all that a lot. So I think of Star Fox 64 oddly enough once April comes around, in spring. So that's one other game, I guess. So yeah.
So I did want to talk a bit about like power-ups and vehicles and things like that use water mechanics. So I do want to. I'll let you take the Donkey Kong one, but I wanted to talk a bit about throw out some of the ways that Nintendo's used water as power ups. There's a Kirby power up where he takes on the water element and he can like surf around on like a tidal wave as he runs. That's a pretty cool mechanic there. And then I like how you have Wave Race. And you have the hover boats and Diddy Kong Racing, just boating on the water and things like that. That's a lot of fun to do that. I also want to mention fishing, just a general mechanic. Also fishing in water or using the crane in water in Wind Waker to find pieces of the Triforce pieces and everything. It's fun to do that stuff. Also needed to talk about Frog Suit Mario because that's like the classic power up for water mechanic. On land he jumps kind of like a frog, but underwater he swims so well.
Beast.
It's quite nice. There's the water ghost in Luigi's Mansion. You can suck up the water ghost and get the water elemental and shoot water out of the poltergust. And then there's I also want to talk about, not many people think about this, but also like Cloud Mario. I mean, Cloud is just water vapor, so you can look at the sky for that, and that's where the rain would come from anyway. So it's kind of cool to see them take that water mechanic and make it into something that Mario can like climb on and get to higher places with. So.
Donkey Kong Country, they have a couple things. The first one, obviously, I think of is On Guard, and in the first Donkey Kong Country game, you ride On Guard. He's the swordfish, and you can stab to. He's really good to have underwater levels and to stab your enemies with to get through there. In Donkey Kong Country 2, though, you actually don't ride him; you transform into him. So he changed from that to that, and that. It's really the same concept, you're doing the same thing with that. But there's a fun level in Donkey Kong Country 2, which is one of my favorites. It has my favorite, one of my most top tracks that if you go back to our first Nostalgic Tunes episode, I brought it, and that's the Lockjaw Saga. And in this one, you are trying to, well, there's a couple of levels like this, but this one specifically, the water is red, and it's like lava almost, or you could maybe say boiling hot water. But we'll go with lava because it looks like lava on the screen. And you have to get through the water fast enough to get to the next part, to get on top of it to where you're out of the water. And then you have to hit these seals that will basically spit. They spit something into the water, and then it cools the water down. But it's basically like a time limit to get through each section, and to collect every Kong letter or find every special coin or banana coin. It's tough to avoid baddies, and to all while you're on a little like a 20-second timer to get to this next spot before that pops up. And yeah, if you'll die a couple times if you've never done it. So but that's a fun, unique mechanic that Rare Nintendo used in the Donkey Kong Country games there.
I also want to mention Steam. People think Steam World, but Nintendo had a Steam game, Project Steam, where you use Steam to move, and you had to have a certain amount of Steam to accomplish things. Yeah, exactly. Abraham Lincoln. But yeah, that's another water mechanic that they built that whole game around, was just like the Steam mechanic. And a lot of people don't always think of Steam as a water thing. But yeah, I just wanted to shout that one out there. There's beautiful water. Take a look at Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles and how beautiful that was on GameCube with the shimmering water, and the water is beautiful. Forget the rest of the game. The water, it was so great to look at when you're on the ships and stuff. For its time, it was definitely one of a kind.
Well, you should talk about. I know you mentioned it, but Nintendo designed the GameCube. They designed Wave Race in the GameCube. They took advantage of new technology that they specifically put in that system to have better water flowing. And Wave Race for the GameCube, was it Blue Storm?
Yeah.
It was designed specifically in mind for the GameCube.
Yeah.
And so Nintendo right there was trying to make more realistic feeling water and movements in it. And then they built upon that with, having a water level Zelda game, which was mind blowing,
So
traveling the ocean.
What you're saying is the Blue Ocean started back in the GameCube days with all the water games that they had.
That's right.
Wind Waker, you've got, Super Mario Sunshine, you got Wave Race, you've got the beauty of Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles when Square Enix took that advantage of that water mechanics and stuff.
Good point.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It all started there, folks. Yeah.
And there's also puzzle games that you can play. There was a Tetris water game called Wetrix. And there's a game called Fluidity, and then there's Where's My Water, which is I think a cell phone game at first, but it was you try to get the water to the crocodile or the alligator, or what have you. And can you think of anything else puzzle game wise with water? There's a classic Pipe Dream that was on NES, but I don't know if you ever played Pipe Dream.
I don't think I did.
Basically, you're trying to make it so you didn't crash into your own pipe. You try to make the water snake around and stuff. So
right. Nothing really crazy comes to mind. Okay. I think of Nintendo. Maybe they weren't the first to do it. I don't know, but in Diddy Kong Racing, you got to have the hovercraft and race with that, and have water races with people, and you got to race a boss, a giant octopus, which they built upon that even more in Donkey Kong Country 64, because there's a level specifically where you fight a pufferfish boss, and I believe you're on a giant raft like you were in Diddy Kong Racing, and you got to drive around and take out the pufferfish dude that way.
Speaking of taking out pufferfish dude, let's talk about baddies and hazards in water mechanics that we come across. I want to kick off first. There was a mention, Squirt from Paper Mario. Josh Taylor mentioned that when we said we were going to be going live with the episode. So I wanted to give him a shout out, and mentioned the city had 3 attacks: Squirt, Water Block, and Tidal Wave. So it was pretty cool to see some of that interaction. He's basically a cheap. He's a bit purple. Seems to have his own personality, though.
He's one of the best sidekicks you can have in that game. He's very powerful.
So now, were there any big water enemies in Paper Mario that he would face off against?
There's a giant blooper.
Yeah, That's pretty pretty spot on there. Like for like, what enemy do you think of in Mario? It's water based, sometimes air
Bloopers.
based, but it's those dang bloopers. Ah, they're so annoying.
Yeah,
Their movement,
I hate them.
awful.
Well, I'll tell you real quick. For me, I mean, it's the main reason I hate big fish and water levels, and that is because of Super Mario Brothers 3.
Yes.
The giant fish. He jumps out of the water, and he will. Doesn't matter if you're like you're big Mario or big Luigi. He'll eat you in one gulp. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. It just as a kid, it traumatized me. Like I didn't expect it, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden, this fish eats you in one bite. I hated it, and it made me have this fear of big fish to this day. I don't like sharks. I'll just stay out of the ocean. I'm good. I don't need to go in there. I'll play in a bathtub or a pool. I don't need the ocean to play in. But
You know,
that took me back there.
I
There's
think
some baddies.
probably the scariest water mechanic for me, um, probably the ghost ship in Mario 3, with where you
Mm,
had to actually swim through all the boos that appeared, and
hmm
there were so many of them, and you had to kind of wind your way around a maze of these boos, but you had no idea when they were gonna like phase in and hurt you. So you had to be really careful when you were
There's a ghost
swimming.
ship in Wind Waker too.
Yes, yes, there is.
That was very crazy.
That was kind of cool to try to get that to appear. It was kind of a
Yeah,
struggle, but man,
you
it's
had to do
creepy
a
when
lot
you
of unique
get on
things.
there.
Um, I also think of our shark friend from Banjo Kazooie.
Yes, classic. The shark friend, and also is it Clanker? Is that his name?
Yeah.
The metal shark as well.
Yes.
I mean,
Oh man,
he wasn't really an
freaks you
enemy
out.
necessarily. Yeah, working on
Um,
his golden teeth.
right. He he's not a bad guy, but he's a good guy. But the shark from Snacker is his name. Man, he is terrifying because you just hop in the water for an instant, then he is coming after you. You know, I don't like it.
Yeah, his commentary. I had a lot of terror from that character. Like I can think of so many times we were just like trying to jump out of the water and fly just that little bit to stay out of the water so he didn't get you.
Well,
Always panicking with friends.
he shows up in Treasure Trove Cove,
Hmm.
and at Treasure Trove Cove, that's the ocean and whatnot. So he's natural to be there. But where he really scares you is Rusty Bucket Bay. Rusty
Yeah.
Bucket Bay is one, a very tough level, but two, he's not in every part of the water. So or maybe he is, I don't know. But he there's a part where you have to go underwater. The water is like full of oil, basically. So
Hmm.
you're already being poisoned and taking damage to be in the water. But there's a part where you have to go into this caged in water area, and you have to get a Jinjo. It's at the bottom, and you have to jump in there, and the snacker is going to be chasing you,
Yeah. Oh,
and that's scary
yeah.
because you're losing health by swimming in there. You're trying to avoid a shark that's trying to bite you a hole, and collect the Jendo guy. So then there's like a little hole in the fence that you can swim right out. You have to just time it. You kind of have to mentally picture, okay, I'm going here and then I'm going here. So you can get out of there in one piece. Because if he bites you, combining the damage you're taking from the water, you're basically screwed.
Uh, Not a fun time. It's not a fond memory for me.
Dang you, snacker.
um, you
Anyone
know,
else?
yeah. Let's move on to a bit of like just the general water hazards. I mean, the most recent and obvious would be the water in Splatoon. Like anytime you fell in the water, you'd be splatted. Essentially, you die. So water was a hazard there. You couldn't actually jump in the water. And
Just
then
so ironic for squids.
yeah, well, they've kind of they've come a long way and kind of climbed out of the water, so the water hurts
I
them now.
guess.
It's kind of interesting. And then you've got sorry, I'm looking at my notes here. There's the slipperiness of surfaces in Breath of the Wild. As you climb and it starts raining, and suddenly you're all the way back down to the bottom again because you couldn't hold on. Mm-hmm. It's annoying, but it's really nice touch. If it didn't rain so much, and there, it's like it never really caused a problem. But Song of Storms, summoning rain, that's perfect for spring. Can you think of anything else? Any other mechanics? Now, I would say you caught me off guard earlier with the springtime question, and it finally popped in my head what would be like the spring game for me, like what I would think of spring, and that would be Minish Cap. You shrink down really little, and when it starts to rain, like giant water droplets drop out of the sky. I mean, just huge, and they're a hazard. And you kind of have to run between them and hide under things, and it's really cool to have that. And like little puddles become complete lakes where you have to cross them on leaves and stuff like that. Those are awesome water mechanics. Like that's like the perfect spring game like idea for me. I don't even know if it's set in spring, but it just kind of reminds me of that.
I'm trying to think of anything else that comes to my mind. I had one that I just lost it. Darn it.
I mean, there's been enemies
right now.
There's been enemies that control water. The Zelda boss that like kind of comes up out of the water, almost looks like a blue jello, less like water.
That's the Ocarina of Time one.
Then you have to use the hook shot to pull the eye out and attack it. But that was kind of a water like mechanic, and it was really cool taking it out because like you defeat the boss and like all that goes up to the ceiling and then it just drips down, and that's where the heart leaves. Like that was a cool like use of the water.
Talk about scary bosses. Majora's Mask one. That I hated that one. You know why? Because it's a massive piranha. Yes. You have to go out in the water and you have to attack it as a Zora. How terrible is that? Oh my. And it's like jumps and it'll jump over the stage. Like it's intimidating. Golly. I hate that stuff. I'd be stupid if I didn't talk about this one real quick. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Our wonderful giant octopus buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And Iray 8, dude, we talked about that level, before. That level is so adrenaline rushing and it's so fun.
They put the Metroid in that game, as an Easter egg.
Yep, there is a Metroid in that game. That's right. Underwater. Cool. Man, so good.
They used to use the water as a mechanic to float fruit down the level in the later ones. So yeah, there's so many things that Nintendo's been creative with water, and it doesn't necessarily mean like actually being in the water and swimming around in it. There's so many different things, and it definitely puts me in the mood for like spring and running out and jumping in rain puddles, what have you.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, man, I'm enjoying the spring. It's welcome. We had a long winter.
So, before we sign off, we do have to honorably mention Animal Crossing because, there's water in the watering can. Okay, watering the flowers. Watering the flowers, got to take care of your gardens, everything. I figured I'd give an honorable mention.
I guess Harvest Moon's a game we could talk about. I mean, I've never really played it much, but...
Have you played it at all? I've never played one.
I just know of it.
Okay.
It's more like a farming simulator game, So you got to grow your crops and that requires water. You got to take care of livestock. So all good things.
There's some things you take for granted in water levels like anymore, like water fountains that turn into pedestals that you can jump on. It's been in Mario and Zelda alike.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you think of any games that are just like quintessentially water for Nintendo? Are there any IPs or anything that's just like all out water?
Only their sports games like Wave Race.
Yeah, Wave Race is such a good example there. Like that is all water all the time.
I wonder if they can make a really fun game based on the mechanics of what it's like to be a Zora,
Okay.
where you're all underwater.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be interesting.
Now, would we be neglecting things if we didn't mention a little bit more of Pokemon? Gen 3 was nothing but water. Like
It's
there was
true.
like 5 different HMs that dealt with the water, like swimming up waterfalls, going down whirlpools, diving, there was all different kinds of things you could do with water and water Pokemon in that one.
When you talking about the elemental facts of just what water is, and like I really think Pokemon helped me learn as a child about elements more. About
Mm-hmm.
water puts out fire, and fire burns grass. It's not like
Yeah.
you think that's common stuff, but Pokemon really helped me understand it more.
Yeah.
And water is not good against electricity and stuff like that. So really good stuff with that. Now, I know Breath of the Wild did a lot of elemental stuff, where you could conduct electricity by connecting metal pieces. But correct me if I'm wrong, but did it really ever emphasize like the water, if the water got struck with lightning, like to an electric current, would that kill you? Did that affect you in that?
I think you could get struck by lightning in the water. I'm pretty sure you could. I don't think it had such a realistic effect that it like killed the fish around you. But I think if you were wearing metal, it could still strike you in the water.
I would hope so, because everything
I'm
else
pretty
is pretty
sure it did.
realistic.
I'm pretty sure that it did. So
Interesting. The one thing they didn't really do, I think, though, is they emphasized on food and eating to replenish your health.
mm-hmm.
They never really had it where like you had to have water, where water is almost more important than even just having food.
I mean, for that matter, they didn't talk about the bathroom either. But
That's true.
How hyper realistic do you want to get?
That's true. Never mind. I don't want to get that realistic. You got to stop at some porta potty like between this and that shrine. The one at the top of a mountain or something. The highest point of a highest mountain in Hyrule. There's a porta potty up there.
Guys, I think that brings us to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening. We hope this puts you in the mood for all the rain that April showers have brought, and I hope that your May is full of May flowers. We will see you guys next week, and I will get to the due diligence.
Before you do the due diligence, I will say spring always reminds me of Pikmin.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, Pikmin's all about gardening, man. And when I plant flowers or whatever, help my grandpa in the past was planting flowers around this time. I always think of Pikmin, and I always want a new freaking Pikmin game every time this time of year comes around. So honestly, that's kind of a no-brainer. I'm surprised I didn't say it earlier.
Yeah, the blue Pikmin, like being able to go underwater and like breathe underwater and stuff. Yeah.
It's very good. And the Pikmin have leaves that turn into flowers on their heads. So
yeah, it's a perfect spring theme there.
It's like the ultimate spring game there, and we didn't even talk about it.
That's what happens when you're thinking of all the things that Nintendo has done with water. You kind of miss few things. Like you miss the grander scope of some of the things. So
for sure.
So yeah, definitely let us know what stuff that comes to your mind for water mechanics that we may have missed. We'd like to hear your ideas and thoughts on that. So you can message us on our Nintendo Nostalgia chat. You can shoot us an email. But let me get you those places. You can find us at Nintendo Village, nintendovillage.com/Nintendo Nostalgia on Apple Podcasts and Google Play. You can also find us at our Facebook, facebook.com/Nintendo NOS, on our Twitter at Nintendo_NOS. Shoot us an email at nintendonostalgiain@gmail.com. You can find us on our YouTube here, and then also on our Instagram at Nintendo NOSIN. And then if you ever need to call into the hotline, the number is 317-969-5690. Guys, that brings us to the end of the episode. We hope you had a wonderful and not too wet week, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Later.
See ya.